Hello, and welcome to the Apocaholics Anonymous, your one-stop shop for apocalyptic short stories. Before we begin our first journey today, a quick shout out to my buddy DJ Rhymes for allowing me to use his song, More Bass, and a huge thank you also to the Bombats for allowing me to use their song, Release the Bombats. Both are Chicago locals and very, very genuine people. Another thank you to my mother, Dina, for voicing some of the lines you will hear in a moment. She's a professional voiceover artist, so I'd appreciate if you didn't compare my sound to hers, and her editing skills are far better. But with all that being said, sit back, grab some snacks, and prepare your voyage for episode 1 of Arc-1The Artifacts.
Are you sure this is a good idea? We don't even know if this so-called sage exists.
Misha had glanced past the village entrance, then back at the cartographer who was probing him for insight.
Come on now, Ava. You know he's the only artifact that can help our people. I really don't think we have the options right now.
Ava knew the coalition officer had made his decision. This was no longer a conversation, but rather a plan of action. In the distance, the sun had begun to trickle over the peaks of the glacial-branded concrete structures of a former era. The village had started suffering. At first, it was only the older members of their community, with various effects of a terrifying disease. There were a handful of unexpected deaths, but when Kendra had fallen ill, the community had erupted into a panicked stupor. It had been a few days, and their leader appeared worse for wear. The small team of 5 had flocked to the village gate, and their expedition in search of the sage was underfoot. There was Misha. He had been an ex-soldier during the Ember Wars. He was a towering man at about 6'6", with broad shoulders that could burden seemingly any weight. Misha was undisputably the leader of the group. While he was large and an ex-soldier, he cared about himself with a calm and collected demeanor. Additionally, he cared for the village and his team. Next, Rory. He always had a knack for tracking and hunting, and when it came to providing food on an expedition, Rory was always the go-to. Rory was also always accompanied by his domesticated tundra wolf, Rocco. The next member of the crew, Abby, had been the outsider of the group. She had been discovered during a previous expedition found lying in a pile of scavenged goods, and now had to earn her keep. The other tracker of the group, a cartographer by the name of Ava, had previously worked behind the scenes during the Ember Wars for an allied army. During one conquest, she had aided Misha through locating the enemy supply lines and devising a strategy that successfully led to victory with minimal casualties. Lastly, a small boy by the name of Eric. Eric had been the one who was the first and only artifact that the Coalition had acquired. While he had been a prophet, it was very uncertain what events the boy could predict. In addition to this, the boy had been attuned to linguistics and was able to speak over 8 different languages. What the others hadn't known about Eric was that when he first became an artifact, his aging process had halted. Within the shell of a 14-year-old boy remain the experiences of a 57-year-old man with the intelligence of a college professor. A bit into the journey, Rory began to notice that his companion's demeanor had altered. Rocco took a more aggressive and alert stance and started slowly pacing backwards, keeping his eyes and ears locked on the rear of the group. Hey. What is it, Rocco? What are you seeing out there?
Will you shut that fucking mutt up? There are lurkers flooding anywhere outside the gates. and we've been on the road for nearly 6 hours. No, the hound is onto something. Turn slowly, but look at your 8.
Each member slowly turned to see what had happened behind them. Misha remained front-facing. Already aware of the situation, he continued to walk forward.
No point in fighting. I think it's just curious. If it wanted to attack, we would have been attacked one at a time when we crossed that bridge back a couple miles.
While the bear hadn't seemed hostile, Rory kept an eye on it, periodically glancing as they trekked forward. If anything, he knew it could provide the crew with a few meals and some added warmth for the night using its hide.
Hey guys, hold up. Something doesn't seem right.
Not even 3 minutes later, the group heard a gunshot. As a figure garbed in a sanctum uniform approached, instantly the team gasped at the sight of the sanctum officer and raised their weapons. Misha, however, dropped his and raised his arms above his head.
He's not alone.
Surely enough, out stepped 9 more men donning assault rifles, some blocking their path. A single sanctum officer would have been a feat in itself. The sanctum had been an opposing faction stemming across various regions with a single creed amongst all members: to eliminate all artifacts. At first glance, lurkers appear human in stature. With further observation, one can recognize their contorted limbs, unusual proportions, and if anyone ever sees one without a mask, they'll never be able to unsee that unholy image. As the officer continued to step towards the group, Evan noticed that the chain wrapped around his left fist was leashing a disfigured creature.
Holy fucking shit! Just fucking run!
Shots had started to ring off as Misha rammed into 2 of the sanctum soldiers who had blocked their path. With a massive clothesline, the 2 had slammed into the ground. One of the soldiers had started to ooze blood from his cracked helmet. The team didn't have time to see if either of the men had gotten up as they broke into a sprint.
Oh, what the hell? You've trained lurkers now?
The shots had bellowed and whipped past the group as they tried to duck for cover behind pine trees. Eventually, the group had made it to a long, abandoned city that had led passage towards the mountain where the rumored sage would reside. The shots had started to fade into the distance. The soldiers knew better than to enter the city with less than 15 men. The crew found a smaller building and hid inside immediately, beginning to barricade the doors.
Everyone's alright, right? We're all okay?
You know where we are, right? The town is littered with lurkers. Now the damn sanctum is domesticating the damn things.
Eric, without acknowledging Abby's frustrations, began to speak up.
We need bandages. Fast.
The group turned in awe to see Misha collapse onto his hands and knees, sputtering blood, just like a Jackson Pollock painting all across the concrete flooring.
No. Oh, no. They must have gotten you when we were running away. Oh, God. This is all my fault.
Calm down, Ava. Trust me. It was when I tackled those men. This is our best case scenario.
The group had tended to Misha's wounds and began to rest for the night. The bullets had been a mere inconvenience, and they knew that the sage could fix such wounds. Rory keeping watch with Rocco by his side, the first day of their voyage had come to a close. Once again, thank you for listening. This is Colin, again, here to say thank you for listening to Apocaholics Anonymous, the first episode, episode 1 of the first arc, where we are hunting for artifacts. And the first artifact we are looking for is the Sage, which we don't really know much about so far. We don't even know if he exists. So I wanted to say thank you to my mom, Dina, again, for her terrific voiceover work. She did a fantastic job. I know I was a little bit lackluster. I'm hopefully going to work on that. But I think overall we did pretty well this episode. I think this was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Another thank you to DJ Rhymes, my friend Sean, for the song More Bass, for our intro song. And another thank you, of course, last but not least, to the Bombats for their song Release the Bombats, my friend Josh Boyer. I'm very thankful to have contact with these people in my life, and we will be hearing that song by the Bombats right about now.
A quick dose